Welcome everyone to We Are Group 4. Today we'll be exploring one of the most pressing socioeconomic issues facing Australia today, the supermarket pricing crisis. In an era where cost of living pressures are at a generational high, the checkouts have become a side of national debate. We aren't just looking at high prices, we are analysing the systematic wicked problem of how market power and pricing tactics affect everyone in their everyday lives. Of Australians, our presentation will use a ladder of inference and integrative thinking to move beyond the headlines and look for a path towards sustainable fairness. The Australian supermarket sector is considered a duopoly. This implies that there are two types of companies in this market that have a dominant majority vast. The issues that have arisen. To understand why this is a national concern, we have to look at the data. Australia has one of the most concentrated grocery markets in the world. Coles and Woolworths together hold about two-thirds of the market. Recent ACCC findings show that while wages have sustained, grocery prices have jumped to 24% the last 5 years. This isn't just about inflation, it's about the fact that these chains have maintained high profit margins even as consumers struggle. Some issues that have arisen from this are tactics that the supermarkets have now adapted, such as shrinkage, which is referred to as companies shrinking the size of their products while the prices of them remain the same. This has caused the public to lose trust and be misled of the ideas of how. What our wicked problem is. Our wicked problem is that price transparency and market fairness. What is a wicked problem, you ask? A wicked problem is a social or cultural problem that is hard to solve because of the number of people and opinions involved and the large economic burden. In our specific problem, the issue isn't just high prices, it's a systematic lack of clarity that it is preventing consumers from making proper informed choices and is therefore allowing dominant players such as the two big supermarket giants to exploit market power. This is a classic wicked problem because there is no silver bullet. As the HLC recently noted, if we force prices down, we might hurt farmers or supply chains. If we do nothing, more Australians fall into food insecurity. To analyze this, we will use the lateral inference. This tool helped us see how a consumer looks at a $10 bag of grapes and sees greed, while a supermarket executive looks at the same bag and sees rising supply chain costs. By identifying these different mental leaps, we can use integrative thinking to find solutions that satisfy both the need of a viable business and the public need for transparency. This can be seen through on how it is used. It is used through 4 steps, which are seen here as reflect, ask, share, and challenge. Integrative thinking. To tackle a problem this messy, we are applying the framework of integrative thinking. In traditional thinking, we often look for a compromise, a middle ground where both sides lose a little. But in a wicked problem like this, a compromise isn't enough. Integrative thinking asks us how to look at as the pro of the supermarket model, which is incredible logistic efficiency and food security, and the pro of a consumer demand, which is fairness and transparency. Instead of choosing one over the other, we use this framework to design a third way. This might look like a mandatory code of conduct that protects suppliers and designs and clarifies pricing for shoppers without destroying the retail business model. It's about moving from an either or to an and making a perfect lens of a complex public policy issue where emotions are commercial high. This causes here, as you can see, an example of how it works. This fixes the issue is through the complexity. Simple solutions like price caps often have a negative unintended consequence for farmers. Stakeholders alignment, it seeks to find a solution where supermarkets can remain viable while restoring the public's social license to operate. In innovation, it offers and encourages a win-and-win reform, such as a mandatory grocery code of product.
Hi everyone, I will be presenting Model 1, which represents the supermarket cost-driven pricing model viewed from the perspective of major Australian retailers such as Coles and Woolworths. This model begins with a particular way of framing the problem. Supermarkets are operating in an environment where input costs are rising across multiple dimensions, including supply chain disruptions, labor shortages, and increasing energy and logistics costs. From this standpoint, pricing is understood not as a discretionary choice, but as a necessary strategic response to sustained cost pressures. At the core of this model is a clear mental model. Supermarkets assume that maintaining margins is essential for organizational survival, and that failing to respond to rising costs would ultimately undermine operational continuity and supply stability. The causal logic of the model follows a deliberate sequence. Rising cost pressures lead to pricing adjustments, which support the financial viability of supermarkets. This financial viability enables continued investment in operations, supplier relationships, and infrastructure, contributing to long-term supply stability within the retail system. Importantly, this model prioritizes system sustainability over short-term price restraint. From the supermarket perspective, absorbing all cost increases internally may appear consumer-friendly in the short term, but is viewed as unsustainable and risky over time. In terms of what this model claims to offer, it presents clear benefits for key stakeholders. For supermarkets, It protects profitability under cost volatility, supports operational efficiency, and enables long-term planning and investments. For investors, it offers more predictable earnings, reduced exposure to risk, and confidence in management's strategic decision-making. Overall, Model 1 frames cost-driven pricing as a stabilizing mechanism rather than an excessive profit-seeking behavior. Price adjustments are presented as a rational response to external shocks, aimed at preserving a resilient and functioning retail system. This is one way to understand pricing decisions, and I will now pass to the next speaker.
Model 2 is focused on deployment of a customer and regulatory fair pricing model. Application of this model starts from assumption that when a market is highly concentrated, such as the Australian supermarket sector, there is always a real risk of pricing power being used in ways that are unclear and unfair towards the customers. Using Model 2, regulation and transparency are not barriers to the market, but they act as essential safeguards. With reference to the pros listed above, for customers, it is evident that they will be benefited with clearer pricing instead of being subjected to misleading promotions, both of which will provide protection against costs of living crisis. In addition to this, Model 2 properties customer trust, which will help the householder to feel confident about prices being fair and free from hidden agents. For the perspective of regulatory bodies, such as Government of Australia, Model 2 is enforcing celebrity. This is because it will regulating for deterring harmful conduct, for gathering better data, and for demonstrating actions to resolve society-sensitive issues of cost of living. With these contexts, regulation will be becoming a established force for application of this model, instead of being just a constraint. Comparing Model 1 and Model 2, few similarities will indefined. For instance, both models aim towards price stability, long-term sustainability, and improving customer confidence. However, both the models tend to differ on the aspect of outcomes. For instance, model is rely on market efficiency and competition, with the presumption that prices will self-correct. However, Model 2 assumes that without adequate oversight, fairness cannot be ensured, so deliberate intervention is needed. This difference creates tensions between cost recovery of supermarket and affordability for customers. Therefore, it is important that value exists across both the model without choosing one side, but by preserving price stability and system customer trust. With reference to these deductions, crucial logic of Model 2 as presented in the presentation reflects that regulation ensures fair prices, which further build trust. Trust will reduce backlash while also creating positive feedback loop.
Hi, my name is Yan Kaijin. The supermarket pricing issue is not only about high price. At its core, it is a trust problem. Consumers often feel confused by unclear pricing and promotion, while supermarkets need pricing flexibility to manage rising costs. This creates a tension between transparency and competition, which makes it a weak problem. This tension explains why current models are not enough. One model focuses on efficiency and cost recovery, and the other focuses on fairness and price transparency. However, ACCC evidence shows the customers still lack trust even when pricing follow the rules. So neither model works well on its own. This is why we use integrative thinking. Integrative thinking does not mean choosing one side. It means combines different ideas to create a better solution. Here the goal is to balance efficiency, fairness, and trust. Based on integrative thinking, we propose a semi-transparent pricing trust model. The model avoids full price disclosure, which could harm competition. It always avoids unclear pricing, which causes confusion. The focus is on building trust in pricing, especially promotions, not on controlling pricing level. The model works in 3 clear steps. First, supermarket report price ranges instead of exact prices. Second, pricing and promotions are checked under regulatory oversight. Third, consumers see clear and verified pricing labels. The Feed Australia's focus on stopping misleading pricing, not setting pricing. This model benefits all key groups. Customer gets clearer information and feel more confident. Retailer keeps pricing flexibility and reduce risks. Government improve compliance and with less pressure. No group is favored over other. However, the model only works under certain conditions. Supermarket must be willing to enjoy and to join. Consumers must understand the labels. Cost must stay reasonable. This shows the solution is realistic. To test the idea, we suggest a step-by-step approach. This includes several and simple A/B tests, then small pilot tests in one product area. Final, whether used with long-term monitoring, testing helps improve the model before full rollout. Overall, supermarket pricing is a complex issue. No single group is fully responsible. Simple solutions often create a new problem. Integrative thinking offers a practical way forward. So this issue is not about choosing sides, it's about designing a better system for consumer, retailers, and government. And now let me hand it to our next group member.
Hi, I'm Han Tianluo. Our solution is a semi-transparent pricing trust model. Its core aim is to restore consumer trust while preserving supermarket pricing flexibility under co-regulation. Instead of full price disclosure, the model relies on price range disclosure, verified pricing mechanics, and clear consumer-facing trust labels. The key idea is simple. Trust is created through verification, not through disclosure. This solution creates shared value across 3 stakeholders. For consumers, more clear and verified pricing reduces confusion from misleading promotions and improves confidence in everyday purchasing. For supermarkets, the model preserves commercial confidentiality and pricing flexibility, while reducing reputational and regulatory risk. For government and the ACCC, it enables more efficient system-level oversight in a highly concentrated supermarket market. This solution works because it directly addresses the co-tension between price transparency and market competition. Rather than choosing one side, it integrates the strengths of both earlier models. Importantly, it does not represent a compromise. Instead, it reforms transparency as verifiability, allowing both trust and competition to be maintained. However, the solution is not without limitation. It depends on consumer understanding of verification labels, credible governance arrangements, and manageable complaints for costs for retailers. Key risks induce superficial box-ticking complaints and possible consumer misunderstanding. These risks can be mitigated through clear standards, communication, and phased rollout. In practice, implementation should follow a staged pathway. This begins with pilot programs in selected categories or regions, followed by measurement of consumer trust, complaints, and complaint cost. Based on these results, the system can be adjusted before being gradually scaled across products and retailers. To conclude, supermarket pricing represents a classical weak problem. Single-model solutions often create new unintended consequences. Our analysis shows that sustainable solutions do not eliminate tensions but manage them constructively. Integrated thinking allows us to move beyond binary choices and design a realistic solution that balances trust, competition, and regulatory effectiveness. That's all. And this is our reference.